Ready. And it looks like we are live. Thanks, everyone. Sorry we're running a little bit late. We always have a little bit of a tech difficulty because this is our life now. So welcome, everyone, to the next edition of Tango Roundtable. I'm really excited to be bringing these panel of beautiful women, most of them who I haven't met before. So I love that this is a place where I get to interact with new women inside of Tango and hear their varying points of view. So before we kick it off, I'm going to have everyone introduce themselves, spend a minute or two to tell people who they are, and we'll start with Carmen.
Oh, okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Carmen. I live in Berlin. I'm originally from Argentina, and I've been living in Berlin since almost already 30 years. I came to Berlin 2 days before the wall fell down. I wanted to stay for just 1 week, and 2 days after I came, the party began. So it became the longest week of my life since I'm still here. And I've been dancing tango since 20 years. So I started when I was going back to Buenos Aires. I started to like tango because I was away from Buenos Aires. And then I started to dance there and then in Berlin. And so now I've been, in the Berliner tango scene for around 20 years and traveling around Europe also with tango. I don't work with tango. I'm a coach for female leaders, not tango leaders, but leaders at work or at institutions. And I'm happy to be here and to touch on these topics today.
Great. Thank you so much, Carmen. Veronica, I would love for you to go next and introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Veronica. I am born and grew up in Russia. I moved to Europe, to the Netherlands, many years ago, and that's where I started dancing tango 20 years ago now exactly. And for the past 13 years, I've been living in Paris, where I work and teach as the tango dancer. I've had a previous career in design, and then at some point I wanted to do only tango. I teach, I travel, teach workshops, dance, perform, work with a partner, and I am often known also for my writings about tango, the articles that I've been writing on my Facebook page for about 3 to 4 years. And yes, I'm very happy that the topic that fascinates me and that occupies my mind, that Christina, you were susceptible to doing this about that particular topic. So thank you.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And thank you so much for facilitating this talk and some of these women. Let's have Maya go next.
Hi, guys. I'm Maya. And I dance tango since 2003 when I started my university, and professionally doing tango, teaching, traveling, performing, and similar things I do with Marco for about 5 years or so. Before that, I was a German and Spanish teacher because I studied German and Spanish. And right now we live in Zagreb, in Croatia. Before that, we lived for some 8 years in Germany, where Marco was also doing his PhD. And yes, I like vintage clothing and wine and sushi, and I love dogs.
Was that your dating profile at the end?
No, luckily it wasn't, but if I had done something like that, I bet I would have written all of those things.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, we have Magdalena.
Hello, guys. First of all, thank you for inviting me here to speak to all these amazing women that I have a chance now. My name is Magdalena, and I'm from Zagreb. I live in Zagreb, just like Maya. And I started dancing when I was 17, which was almost 6 years ago, as now at this moment. I'm finishing my studies right now. I study literature, and in that part of studying literature, I spent a lot of time reading feminist theory. So this is definitely something that like helps me a lot when I think about stuff like we would be talking today, like beauty practices, influence, and in general, like female point of view. What else? I also was working in as a teacher in Tango Zagreb School, and I was one of the initiators of the Tango Young Zagreb. And yeah, I think that's all the important stuff.
Awesome, thank you. We may have another panelist come on a little bit later. Anna, she was supposed to be here, so hopefully we can get her on at some point in the next hour or so. So I would love to kick it off with Veronica, since this was your sort of idea and your musing, and I'm so grateful that you brought this to me and also brought a few other women involved to make this happen. So I'd love to hear your thoughts around what is so interesting about this topic for you. Yesterday you were remarking about the how international cultures and ideals kind of influence and shape from country to country, and I would love to hear your just musings on this. Why did you bring this to the Tango Roundtable today?
The topic of beauty in tango is something that as a woman you are confronted with directly, because in a way this dance is also about beauty, and dance in general, it's beauty in motion. And when I came to tango 20 years ago, it was very obvious that beauty and youth, but beauty even more so, gave you certain advantages, and also that you would sometimes as a woman find yourself in a position of competing with other women, not only in skill but in how well you were dressed, made up, groomed, socializing, shining like a star, etc., etc. And what I found interesting in my travels throughout Europe and Eastern Europe and Russia and Ukraine and Belarus and United States and Argentina is that what I was seeing is that every culture in tango has its own demands and conventions about how a tangera should come to a milonga. What is attractive? What is the baseline? And I saw it at some point as this kind of scale between two extremes. One that is very, very groomed, extremely perfect, that takes hours to set up your hair and makeup, and you wear this amazing clothes and everything is perfect. And on the other end of the spectrum, something very, very neutral, so you could come without accentuating your feminine traits, without trying to enhance your physical beauty. And I saw that in every culture positions itself in a different part of the spectrum. So, for example, I grew up in Russia, but I left very young. And I became an adult in a country like the Netherlands, which tends to be on the neutral side of the spectrum in a general culture and in tango, which means you could come without makeup in your jeans, and that was not such a big deal. And when I started dancing tango, I had short hair. I was very neutrally looking young woman. I actually really enjoyed putting up makeup in tango and dresses and stuff. However, when I go back to Russia, especially after this whole glamorization of Russian culture in the past decades, I always feel terribly underdressed, terribly undergroomed, like I just came in from the street. And it's funny because often in Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus, I'm the maestra of the event. So I would be sitting at the maestro table feeling like I'm literally the worst dressed woman getting ready to perform, and that my makeup skills and my hair is rubbish and everything. And I found that to be a very interesting sensation. And this is true also when you walk on the streets. It doesn't come from anywhere. It is nurtured by the culture around. And there are specificities like this in Italy. There are specificities like this in Argentina, in United States, in the north of Europe. And what have always kind of fascinated me is that I can't help but see the both sides of the story. On one hand, I was happy like a girl when I came to Tango to be able finally to wear feminine dresses and heels and makeup in a culture that is very tomboyish and sports oriented and outdoor oriented, like the Netherlands. You know, you ride your bicycle the whole day. You're not going to do it in a dress when it rains all the time. So it was for me also a whole space opening for this as an expression of who I am. And I see beauty and dressing up and style as a way of expressing your personality, finding what makes you shine, finding what makes you you. On the other hand, especially when I end up in cultures where so much emphasis is on the grooming and the being well dressed, I find it starts becoming an almost unbearable pressure, especially as you get older as a woman. And you know, I'm not 21, I'm only 23. So it's like, you know, you don't get the same amount of attention when you get older. And also the efforts that you have to put in is becomes more considerable. So I struggle with also, like Magdalena said, being very interested in feminist literature and feminist philosophy. I struggle with this balance. How much do I invest myself in something that can be considered fickle? And how much I do uphold these conventions, because it actually brings me results. You know, when I'm well dressed and I'm wearing a dress that really hugs my body and makes me shine, I know the eyes are on me. I know it helps me be more visible in an event. I know people like what I see, and I like that. I like what I see myself. So I would be curious to hear from other women what you think about this.
Thank you so much for setting that up so beautifully. There's many things inside of that I would like to maybe highlight. This desire, I think, for me as a woman and constantly evolving, letting go of some of the narratives that I thought were really powerful inside of Tango, like youth and beauty. I mean, there was a time when I wanted to be the youngest, prettiest guest dancer in the room. And like, that's just not physically possible. You know, like these are, all of those things are very subjective, right? And in the end, like they are so flimsy, right? So what other things can I create within myself that make me feel like I'm a worthy dancer, I'm a beautiful dancer, I can attract the things that I want. And also, you know, I feel similarly of like riding this line between wanting to be beautiful for myself and then also not wanting to be a slave to conventions. And I'd love to hear from Magdalena's point of view, who is the youngest panelist here and started at a very young age. I know sometimes the perception is like, you know, youth is very powerful, but sometimes from the young woman's perspective, it's also extremely overwhelming because your identity is not yet formed and you're trying to figure out how to do that inside a very feminine context of tango. So I'd love to hear what Magda has to say about that.
Okay, well, when I started dancing, I was, as I said, only 17, and I really didn't somehow feel the woman inside me yet at that moment. So I never wore some like really tight clothes that would emphasize my body shape. So and in the first period, like when I was only dancing in Zagreb, it was working well because it's a little scene, and that's where at one point everybody sees you, like that. It just happens that everybody has seen you at least once, and then everybody dances with you at least once, and then you have your dancers, and then you dance. But the big change happened when I started traveling. So when I got to my first festival for the first time, I was actually kind of confused, and it was Porridge, Mediterranean Summer Tango Festival, which is really huge, and everybody there is, this is my impression, like pretty groomed. It's that kind of festival where everybody has, I don't know, their best dresses, the best hair, the best makeup, more or less. And I remember like getting ready for a milonga there, and my male friend telling me that, oh my God, are you really going to go out like this? Because I was wearing a jumpsuit, which for me at that moment was like really, it was tight, it was following the shape of my body. I felt really sexy and exposed in some way. But he said, come on, like you're in pants. You won't get dances while you're wearing pants. There were long pants, so my legs were covered. So I remember that feeling, and how that festival, that was like that, it lasted for 5 days. I was confused all the time because I never knew what was, I had that image of what should I wear if I want to dance, like what I was told to wear. And at that moment, I felt boardingly comfortable in those clothes. Not really. I felt too exposed like that. And also when I was wearing something in what I feel safe, then I didn't feel attractive enough in a way. So, but I was like, at that point, I was really, really young. So I can say that in this time in tango, since I'm like dancing for 6 years and traveling for, I don't know, 3 of those 6, right now, I don't feel that I need to do that anymore, for example, right now. But it also has to do with the longer you dance, the more people you know, everybody knows you. So you don't have to look your best maybe anymore all the time. So right. Yeah, maybe that's enough for this moment.
Okay, yeah. I think that when we all start dancing, there's like a uniform that we see. Like we see the tango shoes that we want to have, and like the red and black tango shoes, or like the fishnets, and like there's this idea that we come in to tango with, of like, this is how you should dress inside of tango. This is the look of tango. And then through our maturation, either as we get older or through our like tango journey, we start finding our identity inside of that. And then it becomes about our own personal style, our own personal sense of belonging to ourselves. And, Carmen, you really delighted me yesterday because you wanted to be introduced in a specific way. And, the counter to Magda's story is that you are the oldest person in this panel, and you wanted to be addressed that way. And I applaud that. And I know the reason why you wanted to do that, because there is strength. There's youth and beauty are amazing assets, but so is maturity and wisdom and experience. And I would love for you to talk more about what that's like inside of tango as you navigate tango being like outside of the ideal, like 20 to 30-year-old, youth and beauty standard.
Yeah, well, thank you for the introduction. Thank you for following my wish. For me, it's an important topic, not to be introduced as the oldest woman or at the whatever, but to speak about reality, to be able to name the truth. And the truth is, I'm the oldest person in this round, and and it's reality. If I don't like it or like it, it is not relevant. It is reality. So what I think is that the most we get in contact with reality, with any kind of reality, the nearer we get to reality, the better will be our feeling to it. The more congruent we are with reality, the better we will feel. When I started to dance tango, I'm 53 now, so like 20 years ago, I was 33. I was not the youngest, and I was not the best skilled because I was starting. But I tried. I don't know if I did it consciously or if it was just that I was lazy or that I didn't want to do something that I was not myself. So I was like dressing like I was dressing on the street all the time. And I was in Berlin, so in Buenos Aires it was okay. I mean, I was learning. And in Berlin, I was getting this bonus of being from Argentina. So even if I couldn't really dance very good, I wasn't bad because I used to dance 10 years flamenco. So I had a body connection already. And I knew the music, of course, from having been growing up in Argentina. But I didn't use high heels until the third year. I was saying, no, I'm not gonna go up in those things. Why? If men are dancing like totally comfortable, I also want to dance totally comfortable. And I danced a lot, totally comfortable, until I started to have the wish of having longer legs with high heels. When it was my wish, it wasn't the obligation. It was my wish. Oh, I'm going to try this because I want to feel, I don't know, sexy, more beautiful, or just how it feels to use high heels. And then I started, but it was, I don't know, maybe it's a very personal attitude, but I have never, maybe it's not true, but but I haven't very often had the feeling of having to follow the trend, the rules, the structures. No. And it was okay. It was very few occasions that I didn't feel welcome. Very few. But that's also a thing of personality and a thing of how you are connecting with people, because I'm socially very, very open and very direct, and I look at you in the eyes and I don't feel this fear. So this is another factor that it's not unimportant.
Wow. So, I guess because you started in your 30s, that there's a sense of possibly already understanding who you are and a resistance to kind of follow a uniform or follow a pattern of dress or dance or whatever that suits other people's needs but doesn't suit your own. So I really understand that as a woman. Speak about it beyond tango, this betrayal of yourself, right? Like when I betray my own needs for other people's comfort or pleasure or enjoyment, I really pay the price for that. So getting comfortable with like really understanding who you are as a woman, no matter what the cost, we think the cost or risk is one of the most powerful things that we can do outside of tango, inside of tango.
It's this exactly. It is more about who do I want to be than what I don't want to do. It's not against, I'm not going to follow the rules. I don't want to be like you or whatever. No, it's just when you start to understand who you actually want to be. There was a this great thing I read. When you go to the supermarket, you don't take a list of what you don't like. You take a list of what you want to buy. You already know what you want to buy. And this is kind of the same. It's not what I don't want to be. It's what I want to be. And I wanted to feel okay with myself. So I just did it. I didn't even think about it.
Right.
Probably. That's
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, Carmen. Maya, I would love for you to speak about, you kind of came on my radar. Well, I've known about you, but what really impressed me about you was your response to tackling a kind of chronic problem inside of Tango, which is people commenting on body parts and focusing on body parts in a way that degrades either a woman's intellect or their dance. And it's almost like it feels like someone is helping themselves to your body. I would love if you wanted to speak to that moment. I mean, you've had millions of those moments, right? And there was maybe just a tipping point with this one particular instance that you felt that you really needed to like speak to the masses.
Yeah, so for those who are perhaps not familiar with the situation, I'm just gonna say this very shortly. What happened is that one person, a dancer who is a fan of me and Marco, he posted a video of us, and then a discussion followed, which is very typical. I'm very aware of that. The only issue was that this time we were tagged, so I could precisely follow what happened. Usually I don't do this, but for some reason I checked on what was happening. And there was another man, again, I'm not gonna say a gentleman because that's not what he is. So there was a male person there who could as well be my father. And aside from commenting on our dance, on the technique, musicality, whatever, choice of music, which is perfectly justifiable, and this is in the end what I do and what is displayed to the public and what should be commented yeah. So after commenting on our dance, he decided to express his personal preference, comparing me with another dancer. And of course, his preference was she, because my backside was too big for his personal taste. This was one part of it. And then another part of the comment was that he compared Marco to, again, another male dancer. And he commented on the position of Marco's back, saying that he prefers something else. So why I decided to act and to react to that comment is because, first of all, I'm very used to getting comments about my body. I will discuss that in a minute. But what was the tipping point was that he also decided to say something about Marco, which so far hasn't happened. And in the end, that the feeling that I got from the comment was that he knew perfectly well what he was saying, what kind of intention was behind that comment, because it was absolutely unnecessary. It was a discussion about dance, full stop, and then a comment on our bodies. So for that reason, I decided to publicly shame him or to expose all of this, because I was simply fed up. So I was not bothered by the comment itself, but I was bothered by the fact that he did this on purpose, knowing that it's not the time and the place. It was completely unnecessary. And also in the vocabulary that he used, I also thought it was borderline vulgar. And definitely I believe that comments like that should not be expressed on Facebook and in public. And this is why I decided to react. But just to complete the thought, so as a, let's say, public tango figure, or as a performer and as a dancer, as a teacher, I realized perfectly well that everything what I put online will be discussed, scrutinized, criticized, commented on as if, I was an IKEA table. Yeah, so it makes no difference whether I'm a real person or not, but if it's out there, comments are gonna come. So I accept that. If I couldn't deal with it, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. But also in the 5 years since we're doing this, if I would count all the comments, if I got a 50 cent for every comment about my body that I had, I wouldn't have to do tango anymore. Yeah, I could retire, buy a house in the Caribbean, and just go there and live safely for the rest of my life with the money from those comments. I swear.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, but it's a part of what I do. Although there was another reason why I decided to react, because people hide online, even though if you see their name, even if the name is real, they still feel very safe, very protected behind their laptops. And by doing what I did, I wanted to also say that I see that. I know whatever somebody writes, I know who it is, I know when it was posted, I know on which video, I know what it was about. And I believe that people should be held accountable for what they let on the outside. And it's not okay to express every single thought that you have in your head. Yeah, especially not if it's something like that. Yeah. And yesterday there was, I think Magdalena, maybe you mentioned boundaries. And of course, every one of us, we have very particular boundaries, but if you would always try to respect them to the point that you really focus only on this person, then you would have to completely readjust your attitude perhaps for another person. So that would, I completely understand the point, but then I was thinking, what are the boundaries for me? Where is the limit of what I'm willing to kind of let go, or what is going to be the tipping point, or how should I act in public? And then I had this idea that whatever you want to say or write in public, if your mother was next to you, if she was okay with it, go ahead. Because if your mother is okay with a 60-year-old man commenting on a 35-year-old girl's body, then I think you have bigger issues inside of your family and I'm not going to go inside of that. Yeah, right. So this would be kind of my measure, let's say.
Yeah. That's a great metric.
Yeah.
No, it's true. And Magda spoke yesterday around this is not a tango problem. This is a centuries old problem of kind of certain men thinking that women are there to sort of serve and be objectified for their pleasure, right? That they are property. And when you look at something as property, you start being able to say whatever you want about it. And I think there's a clear line between what I would say to a friend, if I was a male, what I would say to a friend versus what I would say to you in your face or right online, right? I think that we can be discerning enough to understand what diminishes somebody or what is just sort of a playful banter between men, because I think and acknowledging that tango is a space where we do sometimes bring our sexuality. Like, Maya, you're a beautiful woman, and to deny that men would find you attractive, right? For men to pretend that they didn't notice that you have a lovely figure is not the point of this conversation. It's just where do you put that energy, or what do you say or not say? Because it really creates some strange behavior and sense of entitlement to what men can say to women or not. Would anyone like to kind of speak to that a little bit more around sort of men's expectations of how they think women should be or behave inside of tango? I think that's also really interesting. We have our own ideas around what we should be like, but have you felt, in addition to what Maya had said, felt that you had to sort of be beholden to other men's expectations of what they wanted? Go ahead, Veronica.
Yes, so maybe just some anecdotes. In Russia is currently going through kind of a feminist wave that they didn't have when the rest of Europe was having its last feminist wave. So, and they have a wonderful expression. They say aesthetical servicing of other people. So that means that you are supposed to look sufficiently beautiful to provide visual pleasure to people around you. On one hand, this is something that I really, really like about Tango, because when I come into a room full of well-dressed people who have put effort into choosing their clothes and making themselves beautiful and trying to find this middle ground between I feel myself and I connect to the general standard of beauty, I really appreciate it because it creates for me a feeling of celebration. And this is true for women and true for men. Men have their beauty practices as well, the white belt, the flower shirt, the shoes have to match, etc. And some men take more time than a regular woman to pick all this up. However, sometimes it is quite mind-blowing what kind of aesthetical servicing people expect from you, and just like out of the blue, and the comments that you get. So men saying to women, "Oh, I only dance with girls who dance on heels," and you go like, "Okay," because I think it looks much sexier. And it's like, yes. Like Magdalena said, men commenting on not seeing naked legs. Men saying to you, well, you are kind of like all dressed, like why don't you show some skin? Men giving you good compliments, acknowledging the efforts that you've done and doing it in a nice way. I have had always beautiful compliments, like when I did something to my hair that men would say, wow, really nice how you've done your hair. But some of those comments, and especially with my younger friends and with my students who are young women and quite inexperienced in Tango, meaning that they get over them the attention of all those men who have been refused one by more experienced women, they sometimes get showered with this kind of friendly life advice on how to dress. And this tends to drive me pretty insane when I hear this. Yes.
Yes. I wanted to highlight something that you brought up earlier around Russia and sort of like this amplification of beauty, right? Like this aesthetic that's going to extremes, right? And men wanting women to look a certain way. But then the amazing thing too is that like subverting that as well is also happening. So, there's a queer tango movement happening there. There's women that are rejecting those standards of beauty inside of Russia, and it's really it's brave to kind of go against and face a backlash if you know that you're doing something that subverts patriarchy or this standard of what people want. And Magda pointed out yesterday too, beautifully, that patriarchy is a problem both for men and women because it keeps us both in separate boxes. And I love that you said that and you highlighted that, because it doesn't actually serve anybody when we narrow our focus into what is attractive into this tiny, tiny vision of a 28-year-old blonde woman that is 120 pounds, and like, it just becomes, it takes away all of the beauty of all of us is that we all look different and we all have different experiences and we can offer different things. So expanding that bubble has mutual rewards for both men and women. And, I think about in the women that I've had on in the past where, women of color, I mean, they don't have, there's just a visibility issue of people even acknowledging them as like a viable tango partner or a viable, like someone that they would find attractive. Like there's sometimes for a lot of, and women that are queer, like, are they a viable tango partner if they're not sexually available to a man? Like there's been a lot of this happening under our noses. And expanding that idea of beauty or intimacy even. It's really just about intimacy. Like, who do we want to connect with? Does it always have to be a pretty young woman? Can it be someone who, could it be a guy? Could it be a girl? Like, who could we share a hug with? Like, who could we share intimacy with? And then exploring from there. So, I mean, that's a whole nother can of worms, but I would love Anna to weigh in on some of her thoughts around what she's experienced, because you've said, Anna, before that you have this sort of this duality to you, where you are this sort of like no makeup, no this, natural, and then in other places you feel a sense that you want to dress up. I don't know if you can relay some of your ideas around kind of, you're in different cultures. You have the Swedish part, this Greek part, like how that sort of intermingles with who you are and your identity.
Yeah. So first of all, sorry, I was like, oh, I thought it was at 8 o'clock here. So I was like doing my pasta. So time zones seem to not be really my strong side. But anyways, I'm happy that I'm here now. Yeah, the thing with cultures, like you said yesterday when we had our little pre-talk, I find it so interesting just to see in my own psyche what I feel, let's say, comfortable with, and how the surroundings actually kind of get into my mood and what I feel comfortable with. Like being born in Sweden and feeling mostly Swedish, let's say, but still having a Greek side. My father is from Greece. Like here in Sweden, I would say people are very neutral, you could say. Yeah, like we don't have, of course we have different extremes of beauty practices and so on, but I did a little joke, like you can imagine these couples that have been married for a long time and you hardly can see who's a man and who's a woman. Yeah. So I think, the beauty standard in Sweden is quite, low key, I would say. Yeah. In most surroundings. And for me, it has been, it was so juicy to come into Tango and to actually find a channel for, let's say, that type of let's say beauty that we call normal, maybe in Tango. Yeah, with the lipstick and the high heels and the skirts and the dresses and all these kind of things. I think as just for a woman as such, but I've also realized that maybe there is something about, let's say, my Greek side, because if I come to Greece, it's like, this thing with lipsticks and high heels and dresses and all these kind of things that we use a lot in Tango is more normal to use in your everyday life and when you go out and so on. So it could also be, that I have this little, of course it's not a Latin, but let's say the hot-blooded part of me comes out in that way. Although that when I go to Greece, I realize like how used I am to being much more low-key in my normal outfit and so on, and actually feeling a little bit uncomfortable. Now I haven't been there for quite many years, but like what you said, Veronica, about this, like what is seen as beautiful and feminine in one culture can be very different from another culture. So yeah, and it's hard to say, if it's like, if it's there in the air or if it's just something that I'm making up or but of course you can see that there are very different ideals in different cultures, and I think that actually molds you more than you think into wearing and beautifying yourself.
Thank you. There's a question that I'm going to try to reframe because I think I know the intent behind it. Should the more attractive women, I'm going to say danceable women, I'm going to try to maybe reframe this, in Tango events, take responsibility for making sure that the other women at events who are not maybe as popular get dances and attention. How would you answer that? Go ahead, Veronica.
So what happens is that we run constantly Tango communities into this issue that a lot of women feel not desirable enough as dancers. And the way I've so far come up to deal with it myself, with my friends, and even with myself, is first of all to consider attractiveness of a dancer as much more than just this. So I see it in the metaphor of this DJ mixing table where you have all kinds of sliders. And those sliders cover everything from your dance technique to your looks, to your youth, to your sociability, introversion. And every slider at every moment in your life will be at a slightly different position. And you are a full package. So what I do when, for example, my friends come and visit Paris and apprehend not being asked to dance because, you know, Paris scene is known for being so high level. What I do is I take those women and I introduce them to my dancing friends one by one so that they can have a glimpse of the full package. So is this woman a nice person? Can I have a conversation with her? What is she saying to me? Does she look like someone I could connect with? Does she hug well? To take the focus of it's all about youth and beauty, because I find that a lot of times when we feel threatened in our popularity, there is this downward spiral of negativity that kicks in inside. And I do it just as much as anyone else. Whereas you would think like Veronica, relaxed, you know, you can just really relax. You will get dances nevertheless. But every time I find I'm sitting for way too long, there is this voice in my head that starts saying, so you are finally too old, aren't you? So you've never been really the pretty one, have you? Yes, you've learned your tricks. Yes, you've become a teacher. Yes, you know how to do nice ballets, but you are not dancing, are you? And this gets much worse when you are a woman who's been dancing for a short time, who eyes all those amazing dancers that don't look at her for now because they don't see the package as matchable. So I always try to make people realize they have other things than just that, not concentrate only on that, because it's simply not true that we only judge other people by youth and beauty. We might do it in the first instance, but once you strike a conversation, you go like, oh my God, this is such a lovely person. And we shouldn't underestimate the dance skills. For me, it's been always my saving. I've always said to myself, the only thing that will really matter any time in my life, no matter how old and ugly and non-beautified I am, is how I dance. It's how I move, how I embrace, how I hear the music. And I've tried to always put my investment into that. And I've always told my students, if you do this, you will always have a huge asset in your package. You might not get the dancers that are overly concentrating on youth and beauty, but then you go like, yeah, well, you know, you can't have everything. But you will have those who will love you for your skill. Yes.
Agreed. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Carmen, I think you had your hand up earlier, so then I'll go down the line.
Yeah, just to the question that you were reading from the comments, if women that are part of the community and popular or beautiful or young or getting all these dances, they should unite for the others. I mean, this is like in real life. Tango is nothing different to real life. Do you want to commit for people that are not having a good time as you are, or you don't? This is exactly the same. You don't have to, but you can. Do you want to be always the hero, helping these people, or do you want to empower these people with some other way, with some other techniques? For example, telling women, if you are not dancing and you already have some skills, when you learn to follow, learn to lead on the same time. We have been we are used for ages on waiting. We have been educated to wait, to sit down and be silent, to don't be loud, to express ourselves with our appearance, but not too much with our voice, not too much with our gestures, because it's not feminine enough. So do we want to continue with these traditions and this weight on your, or do we want to change something? Do we want to wait until somebody looks at us because they know that we dance good, or because they think that my dress today is fitting his shirt or whatever? Or do we want to get active and try to dance with the people we want to dance with, a man, a woman, no matter? Are we willing to leave this passive role that I know we're changing a lot, but we're still too comfortable? I think we could just start being more active and leaving our comfort zone. It's not easy, because then we will know that we will get rejected, like lots of guys get rejected. But we survive. We will survive. You get rejected once, twice, the third time you will dance.
Yeah, and I think I hear some of the points that you're making is to take some of us can take more empowered roles and creating either creating a community that we want to participate in, or individually, what would I do for myself to make this more an enjoyable experience. But I also say that as a woman that recognizes her own privilege, that I have a certain privilege of being attractive, a good dancer, and all of these things. And I want to be mindful of situations where people can't help what they are, which is like if you're an 80-year-old woman, right? And also if you are a Black woman and you're struggling with just visibility, making sure that there's a place that feels that it's welcoming and inclusive is also my responsibility.
Of course.
And also, I guess the other part for me that I find the most powerful is that I don't go to the Milonga just to dance. Like, it's my social outlet, right? So if I put the emphasis on this being a social outlet, I mean, women go to Tango and they're like, God, I only danced, 3 tandas tonight. I was like, I danced too. And I talked with all of my friends. It's just a matter of perception. Like, I had a great time because my expectations were that I went there for, getting my social needs met. But that's something that, we should kind of promote more, so that people don't feel like they go out just to dance and then they're just constantly disappointed. I want to hear what you guys have to say around. Go ahead, Magda.
Well, as within the Tango Young project that I started now, I just remembered while you were talking right now. So when we first started with it, we had one group of beginners for like 3 months, and then we had an idea in Zagreb to make a Tango Young only Milonga. And it was a huge, huge, huge drama. It was like a closed Milonga for basically that group. Why? Because those were like 15, 20 people from, I don't know, actually 16 to 22, 3, 4, I don't know. And actually the community reacted like really, really badly, because they felt like they've been like taken out of something. Actually, that they didn't have somehow. Yeah. So this was just that one moment, and then we decided not to do it anymore. So it was the one and only Tango Young only Milonga, actually. but it was like really interesting to have it as an experiment to see like how would the like the rest of community react on that kind of, I don't know, maybe in many things I think we maybe announced it wrong somehow, or I don't know, but it was really interesting. But that's one story what I just wanted to mention. But also as being like kind of leader of Tango Young project in Zagreb, I had a lot of young people around me that want to, find their spot in the scene, and they were all beginners. For beginners, it's always that's a specific thing when you have beginners, and then they need to try going on the first milongas, find their place there, who should they dance with, who rejects their dances, blah blah blah. And all of these young people are really like kind of a special group in a way, because I think they have, like also me when I started, we don't have such an like such well-formed sense of integrity in a way. So it's very easy for me or for my, I don't know, one of my students who was 19 at the time to get really insecure, really, really deeply insecure, because he got rejected this and that many times. And now there was also a situation when we had that thing with, like me and also the rest of the teachers were trying to balance, to help them how to cope up with that situation, how to like how to show up in a way on milongas, like how to stand. Also, I think that you can improve those stuff also, that women that do not dance as much on milongas by talking with them about their somehow attitude, because it's not only youth and beauty, it's also the attitude you take. Because if you sit by the side somewhere and hide like this, and you're sad because you don't get enough dances, you won't get enough dances. If you don't look people in the eyes, you won't get any cabeceos. And people need to have like strength in them, both women and young men, as in that situation, to look people in the eyes. And also, like this is the situation where I somehow, with my young girls from Tango Young, I knew how to work with them in that sense. I was, of course, more successful with girls in that way than with boys, because simply we're closer. But also I had a partner at that time who was also like really successful in his side. So he was like kind of empowering young guys also to take that space in a way. But the one problem that I found when I was talking with people on the scene in Zagreb is when some ladies that would be like, I don't know, 30, 40 years, maybe older than me, would come to me, and while we were talking, like, I don't know, about dresses, clothes, makeup, whatever, they would tell me like, but it's so easy for you, because like it's so easy for you to get the dance. And you girls, you young girls, get them all. And this is the hardest part of that, like youth and beauty somehow etiquette, because I feel like there is a huge gap between me and those women, even though sometimes I don't get dances. I mean, of course I don't get dances. Like, for example, my first milonga in Paris, when I got there, and I felt really nice, and I was really groomed, I felt really beautiful that day. And I wanted to dance so much, and there were so many people that I wanted to dance with, and there were so many people that I got introduced to, but still, it was just not my night. But then, in such a situation, when I don't get dances, even though I don't doubt that I'm happy with the way I look at that moment, is I'm questioning my dancing skills. Because even though I know where I stand now after these, I don't know, 5 years, and I know my age is not the problem, I know my looks is not the problem at that moment, and then it's just like, oh my God, I'm such a horrible dancer. Oh my God, look at this leg. What is this volley? My leg is not free, blah, blah, blah. So it's not, somehow it's never easy not to get dances. That's just my...
Yeah. Go ahead, Maya.
I think I remember this discussion on Facebook, Magda, what you just mentioned. And I think it said that it was a milonga for people below 35. What was it like that? I think so. And I know there was a huge discussion. And I remember thinking, Why? Just why? It has nothing to do with you personally. If you're 35 or more, this really has nothing to do with you. Why would you take this so personally? Why would you be offended? You have all the milongas in the world, and there is this one place where people are trying to build something like a little nest, you know, to make the beginners and the kids feel more comfortable, to help them enter and to deal with all this like fucked up situations in tango. And of all the things that you can do, like support it, share it, I don't know, send your child over there, whatever, you decide to expose your completely opposite view on that. So yeah, that was, I don't know if it's a Croatian thing, but it was very disappointing in a, yeah, what the fuck, people. Yeah, so this is one thing. And the second thing I wanted to say, I like very much what Carmen said about being active. And this is also that really speaks to me as a dancer and a person and a teacher and a performer. And this is not something that I like to talk about. I like to show it, really. And I try to emulate this in every single lesson, in every single performance, because I believe in leading by example. You can talk about things. It's great. People need to hear it. But what needs to happen is you have to do it. Yeah, you have to go out of your comfort zone. You have to make a decision. I'm going to do this. And then let's see what happens. And what usually happens is that, of course, there are some people who don't like it. But I mean, what? So what? Yeah, it's not my problem. But there are a lot of people who are relieved that somebody who is a little bit more exposed or famous or known, that somebody dares to do something that is out of the box. Yeah, that somebody who is not Latin American beauty decides to do a tango pose, and they do it a little bit different, but it works. Yeah, or that somebody doesn't come in fishnets, or that they wear a jumpsuit, or that they wear hot pants, or whatever. So I think it always takes one little incentive, like somebody needs to light a match, and then something is going to start to happen. This is one thing. And on the other side, I feel that very often, you know, if you're active, you need to take responsibility for what you do. And it's much easier to blame others for not dancing. Yes, I'm old, I'm fat, I cannot lift my leg and do a voleo. So what? You have, like Veronica said, you have a bunch of other sliders which can work a lot in your favor, but you need to do something about it. So all these ladies coming to you, Magda, oh yes, you're young, you're beautiful, it's so easy for you to get dances. Perhaps that is so, but in 30 years, that's gonna be you. So instead of bitching about it, I don't know, wear jeans if you don't feel comfortable in a dress, wear low heels. But do you know that TV show Mrs. Maisel? Did anybody watch that? It's in the 50s vintage clothing. I fucking love it. The best sentence, the best phrase from that show, she's a female stand-up comedian in the 50s. So again, it's a lot of patriarchy and the machistic world. The best thing she says is tits up. So you can sit in a corner like this, or you can put your tits up and see what happens next. Very good chances are somebody's gonna comment on your tits, but if you can move past that, maybe you will get a dance or somebody will talk to you. But the important thing, you took action and you took responsibility for yourself instead of constantly blaming somebody else or looking for causes in everything what is around you. So I think we can change a lot of things if we just do them by ourselves. Yes.
I love that. And I'll get to Anna in a second, but I wanted to highlight something that Maya said too, which is like, it's also being aware of our own personal influence. You know, most of us here are tango dancers or leaders in our community, and what kind of influence we can give, or what can we showcase that highlights differences, that highlights how we're showing up in tango in our own way, that allows the women around us to see, oh wow, look, you know, this is someone to emulate. You know, Carmen is older than me, and I love the way that she is in her life and inside of Tango. That's something I can emulate. I don't have to be afraid of like getting older inside of Tango. Like she's an example of what I'd like to be. Or Maya is an example of a woman who owns her body and is unapologetic for her beauty, but she doesn't overuse her sexuality to get the things that she wants. And she's not a Latin beauty. She's another kind of beauty that is valid inside of Tango, and she's her ability is just as valid as an Argentine dancer's ability, and she can be successful with her partner. There's all these things where we can acknowledge that we have a personal either a responsibility or just an understanding that we have influence over what happens inside of our communities. Anna, go ahead. I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, so I find this a very, very interesting topic because, as an organizer and teacher and all of these things, it's we've had some different situations going on in the community around these things. Like now, many years ago, we had actually a little bit like what you were saying, Magdalena, that there was, let's say, a little bit of the older community feeling, frozen out by the younger community, and there was this thing going on, and all these different things, and what I feel is a little bit like what you said, Carmen. It's like, it's one thing is to be aware of that, okay, there is this situation that some people, let's say, might feel excluded or whatever, and yes, there's also the other side that, isn't it everybody's right to actually dance with whom they want to dance with? Yeah, so it's like we have kind of both sides, and how we have worked, we have tried all kinds of things, and I find it quite interesting. But it's a little bit like what you're saying, Maya, that somebody has to lead by example. And of course, being like the mom and the dad and the school, we do this a lot, that we dance with everybody and so on. And what I've found is that, of course, there's also a balance. Like, if you have the energy that day, then it's fantastic if you can go and ask a beginner, or even if it's a man or a woman. I just have to say that, yes, okay, maybe there are some women that don't get to dance, but imagine how petrifying it is to be a beginner leader in a milonga. I think actually that's even worse, because you're supposed to lead and you're supposed to take care of the space and all these kind of things. But I think the interesting thing is to keep that topic actually active, because I think you forget after a while, when you're an experienced dancer and you have your crowd and you have your friends and so on, you forget a little bit, how was it when I was a beginner. So I think it's good to kind of now and then, if you have the energy, like go and ask somebody to dance, or do introduce that new person, whatever, to somebody, or and so forth. And also exactly what you said, Magdalena, that one thing that we do with our beginners is we actually do a setup of a milonga. They actually practice to cabaseo, we actually even put them in an exercise where you are allowed to say, and you say no, and how does it feel to get, let's say, a rejection, like all these things, like, okay, it's not personal, and like if you're tired and you don't have the energy, you shouldn't feel obliged to dance with somebody, because oh my God, how does it feel to have a pity dance? How does it feel when somebody's pity dancing you? It's not a nice experience. You rather don't want to dance than to dance with someone who's feeling pity for you. So it's something about, this mix of everybody is allowed to dance with who they want to dance with. But of course, we want to have an including environment. And what can we all do to create that? I think it's like to have that subject alive is good.
Yes, I well said, Anna. I think that we have to find this balance of like, what are we contributing to our tango community? Like, what what do we do? And that's not pity dances. That's like, how do I contribute? Like, how do I integrate? How do I, whatever that looks like. It could be just even socializing with people. It doesn't need to be about dancing with everybody. And then what are my needs inside of Tango? Like I have desires to dance with dancers. And I also am a teacher, and I want to make sure that I do my part in exposing my students to other people and integrating them into my community. Like I have to wear, even if you're a teacher, if you're just a regular dancer, I don't think that teachers are like at the top of the totem pole in terms of communities all the time. I don't necessarily feel that that's true. I think that I think what makes up the strong community is the people that dance a lot. Like they need to also take responsibility, but it's really about what are we, like the whole umbrella of Tango needs to both be getting your needs met and contributing back in some way, whatever that looks like. So thank you for speaking to that. Does anybody else want to weigh in on that topic around both being getting your needs met, doing what you want, and also recognizing that Tango can't really thrive if we're always so self-indulgent? Like what's the banter? Go ahead, Carmen.
Just one small thing. When we are speaking about youth, we are speaking about beauty, and these are things that we cannot influence at all. I mean, we can influence youth, we cannot. Beauty, yeah, until a certain point we can, but there are some standards that are there, and some can reach them, some not. So but what we really can influence, and it's not easy, I don't want to say that it's easy, is attitude. And attitude is also a mix. It's not just that we can say, okay, then I'm going to be active and I am going to be totally social, and no, this is not possible for everybody. This is not possible for a lot of people. So it is something, it is a skill. It is also a skill. It's like learning to dance, learning to socialize. This is exactly the same as in real life. I don't get tired of saying this standard phrase, Tango is like real life. It's no difference at all. What do we have for an attitude? Where are we going? What are we looking for in Tango? Do we want to give? Do we want to take? Do we want to see how much can we take? Or do we have something to give out of this package that Veronica was mentioning? Because we have lots of different things. So we also have things to give. If we go with this everywhere, if we go with something that you have, that you want to give it, this is automatically giving you another presence, another staying. Just giving something. But this thing of attitude is a skill that we all need to work for. We work for it, developing in life, like with many things, learning things, trying to be more secure, trying to work on our communication skills, like in a relationship, exactly the same. Also for the relationship that we have in our community. And then when you get more comfortable with yourself, suddenly people are coming. But first we need to get comfortable with ourselves. This is the attitude. And then beauty and youth, it's not that they will disappear as an important factor, but they are then less important, because everybody wants to have a good time, everyone. And if I'm beautiful, okay, you can look at me for 5 minutes, then it will be boring if I don't help you having a good time. If I help you having a good time, okay, we look together to that beautiful girl for 5 minutes, and then we have fun.
Magda, you had your hand up. Do you want to speak to something like that?
Yes, definitely. Just let me put it back. Okay, so what I wanted to say is that I think it's a kind of a problematic, this subject about like taking and giving from Tango, because all of us that sit here, we are teachers. So we or leaders, or like in a way, like creators of our community. And I think in that position that we are in, it's important to both take and give, because you're the one working actively on building it. But I also don't think that the obligation of everyone who gets into any like beginner, advanced, or whatever course in the city is to like actively think of giving something to Tango. I also think that I think that there are many people that take Tango too seriously in some way. I mean, I take it like it's the most serious thing in my life, but still, I think that not everybody should be engaged the same way. So I think it's really okay that some people just come and dance once per month, like, I don't know, 5 dances with their favorite dancers. And also that other people that choose to invest in the community in any way, and also most of the time earn from it, like never, it doesn't matter if it's like money or like, I don't know, fame or power, whatever. But I think those people have the responsibility to give back to the community. There's just like one idea. I don't think that everybody needs to come to Tango thinking about that equation. So
Go ahead, Carmen. You have your mic.
Just one thing to put it clear. I wasn't saying that everybody needs to give something. I was saying as a possibility to get integrated. If you yourself, you are not integrated, but you take out what you think that you can give, you put yourself out automatically in another position, and you get another presence than the presence you have if you go somewhere and are like, how do you say, battling? No, asking for, oh, please give me, I need. If you come needy to a place, most probably you will not be as lucky as if you come to a place with what you have to give. Automatically the energy will be another one. This is what I was saying. Not that you have to give, but as a strategy, if you want to have a better time, go somewhere offering and not asking.
Right.
And the energy will be different. That's what I was meaning with giving.
I want to ask a question that I think sometimes is problematic for women, which is, let's see, we have to recognize that people come to Tango for different reasons, right? So most women, I would say, want to dance to feel beautiful, right? Like you'll choose a partner that's unattractive, over a cute young guy, if you know you're going to get an amazing dance with that. I think we tend to choose that over everything else. Like I choose amazing dances over the looks of a partner. However, I think that a lot of times men choose young pretty girls because they enjoy dancing with a young pretty girl. They also enjoy dancing with good dancers, but that's also like a very valid option, especially if you're a single guy. Like Tango can be a place where you meet women. And I think sometimes other women get very upset that men are choosing women because they are young and pretty over them. And I think that we need to examine that aspect of Tango, because Tango is a place of meeting people and hooking up, and that's a valid reason. It's not my reason that I want to dance, but it's their reason that they want to dance. And I wonder if anybody feels compelled to speak about that, because I see some women complaining or being upset, like, oh, I've been dancing for wow, nobody wants to speak about this. Women get upset when they see, then they witness that, and it's like it's
I feel conflicted because on one hand I acknowledge that this is a place to do just that, to meet people. Who had their hand up first? I don't remember. Go, Veronica, you can go first.
Yes, I wanted to go first because it's a topic of many of my articles, and one of the reasons I started writing them is to make exactly the point that you're making, Christina. So when you are part of a Tango community, you have your own values, you have your reasons, you have your needs, or what you perceive as a need for what kind of a connection. And a lot of times people tend to think that everybody else either is exactly the same or absolutely should be the same. And I have become aware very early in my Tango life that it wasn't absolutely the case, that some people whom I thought would be compatible with me weren't interested in me as a dancer because they had a different set of needs and values, either at that point in their Tango life or even in that particular evening, like you say. They were pursuing a particular woman, or they would prefer dancing with a younger woman as opposed to a good dancer, etc., etc. So I had also to make peace with it when I was an inexperienced dancer and a new woman in Tango community. And the best way to help myself was to say, as much as I have a right to have my own set of values and needs and consider them valid, inasmuch I have to acknowledge that right to any other person. So I can have my judgment. I can smirk about somebody's values and needs, and I could be maybe even bitchy about it to my girlfriend, saying like, yeah, well, he's dancing with her because she wears a short skirt. I never actually say this, but you know what I mean. It is being said. Notwithstanding how much I judge something, I have to accept that that person, unless he or she is doing harm to another person, has a right to behave the way and to make the choices the way they want to make the choices. It is like in love life about compatibility. So you might always be attracted to people who do not see you as a compatible partner. Now, this is hugely dramatic for most of us. We don't deal with this well. And this is true in Tango. You can ask yourself, what can I do to become much more of a kind of a person they would be attracted to in many ways? And beauty practices is one of those tools. So when I realized, okay, I was this very neutral looking girl who had short hair and, you know, not much in the breast department and everything. And I thought, I want to get that dancer, but I see he has kind of a preference for, you know, I don't know, curvaceous girls or something. In what way can I still be a compatible dancer if I want to? Just asking myself those questions really helped. Sometimes the answer was, well, there's no way we will be compatible just because we're not looking for the same thing. And I also want to say, every time that a woman comes to me frustrated, sits next to me and says, well, you know why he's dancing with her, don't you? And not with me because she's young and beautiful. I say, but so do we. If a young, handsome guy walks in, all eyes of all women turn on him. And then we watch whether he is an acceptable enough dancer. And sometimes we even accept him if he's not acceptable enough, just because it's nice to be in his arms. And I mean, a woman who's never done this, I let her throw the first stone. What you say, Christine, is true that once you go with a guy because he's young and handsome and then the dance is somehow crap and you don't like it, women tend to give up sooner. But if there is a spark or something in which you can invest, it's a promising beginner, it's a nice person, he has something about his musicality, there is some creativity going on, although he has no idea what he's doing, you stick to this person, you invest in his package. He has some sliders really high, they are really compatible with your sliders. Some sliders are really low, but you can help him get them up. And I would like to tell women to first of all not feel entitled to anyone and give the other person the right to choose differently, but also to remember that even if you think you know why a certain person is making a certain choice, tell yourself that in reality you don't know unless you ask. And even if you ask, the person might not tell you the truth. The person might not even know the truth. So give yourself this peace of mind of not knowing, except for yourself.
Beautifully said. Thank you, Veronica. Does anybody else want to speak to that? Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, I completely agree with all what you're saying, Veronica. It's like, you know, we can all have all kinds of ideas and feelings about that happening, and also like what you have been saying now so many times, Carmen. It's like in normal life, you know, isn't it like often in that way that you see older men with younger, more, you know, beautiful women, and we're all like, oh, that's so bad, and blah blah blah, and it's fine, you know, in one way. It's maybe it's good that we're reacting and so on, but I think it doesn't really solve anything for us. It's like, you know, I've seen so many times, and I've done that so many times, you know, like, let's say, not being such an experienced dancer, and who are you looking for? You're of course looking at the more advanced and the more experienced dancers, and you know, like, you're always trying to climb the ladder because you want to have that fantastic dance, as you were saying, Christina. And actually seeing that you know, it's nothing wrong with wanting to dance with the best leader maybe in the room and so on, but maybe that is actually gonna give you a worse experience that night, instead of looking at, okay, but who is actually available to me? Yeah, like, you know, okay, well, you know, am I gonna sit here and wait, and you say sought for, like, that guy, that's the only guy that I want to dance with, or will I give it a try here, George with a checked shirt? You know, maybe that could be something, like, you know, opening your view and not hunting something. Yeah. So I think it's like, you know, we can't, I know we judge, but we can't really. Yeah. And as you're saying, Veronica, it's like, it's everybody's own right to come to the Milonga for the needs that they want to fulfill. It's not up to anybody else to control that. Yeah, it's a free world.
Yeah. Maya, I haven't heard from you in a while. Do you have any thoughts on this sort of topic?
Yeah. I also believe in everybody's choice to come to tango for whatever reason they might have, and to dance with whomever they might dance with. And I believe also this absolutely translates to real life. But what I wanted to say was that, I mean, we cannot honestly be surprised that people want to dance with people who they find attractive or appealing in some way. I mean, it would be ridiculous, because what you see, this is what you base the first impression of one person. You might be completely wrong. Yeah, they might look like the tastiest cake in the world, and then you realize it's Brussels sprouts on the inside. Yeah, but what you're attracted to, what you notice, and everybody who sells otherwise, I mean, it's bullshit. You are attracted to something, whether it's, I don't know, that they're tall or muscular, or they have big boobs, or they dress nicely, or they smell great, or they have nice hair. You are attracted to first what is visual. So I absolutely understand why people would base their choice on that. But for me, that is very much on the surface. Because if you do come to tango to find a partner, a husband, wife, lover, whatever, I mean, it's fine, but it's also, it's a kind of it's a very superficial, it's a very basic reason or need, for me, at least. Yeah, because I think most of us, or people who truly fall in love with tango, or who are attracted to the dance itself, or to the music, or to some kind of deeper human connection, they will rarely choose a dancing partner or a life partner simply based on their appearances. It will, okay, Marco is making gestures. Sorry. I mean, it does play a very big role. Yeah, you will not marry somebody you're not attracted to, but if they're an asshole, that marriage is gonna fall apart. The same way that if you dance somebody simply based on their large pecs or hard abs or a nice ass, after a second song, you might figure out that they're actually shit to dance with. Yeah, and that you might have chosen George with a checkered shirt because he's actually a decent dancer. Yeah, and that's what matters, right? You want to dance tango. If you want to meet people, you could also go to a bar or to, I don't know, the online dating site or whatever. So while yes, this superficial thing will always be there, I think we don't have to take that personally, and we don't have to be bitter just because somebody likes to dance with a tall, gorgeous, blonde 20-year-old. I mean, it's their right, but it doesn't concern me. It's none of my business. I have nothing to do with it. If I want to dance with that man, I have a choice. I can cabeceo him, and then again, he's gonna say yes or he's gonna say no. If he says yes, I get a tanda. If he says no, I get a drink. So it's a win-win, you know. It's like yes. But honestly, I have to say this, Vero. I also, because Marco is now in the room, I really, truly, I swear on all of my vintage dresses, I have never danced with anybody simply based on their physical appearance. Like if I thought they were attractive, I never danced with anybody just because of that. Yeah, but also because I'm with Marco, and you know nobody's hotter than him, so it's just he's twerking now.
I want to thank you. So I want to bring up a comment that is a good one, and maybe we can speak to this. So let's see if I have to read it from here. It's getting cut off on this. This is from Karen. Karen is actually somebody that I know. She says, I have an opinion about this comment, but I will let you guys, I'll speak first and then let you guys talk about it. I am perplexed by how much emphasis is being put on the idea that women should be working harder to get a dance. It seems to me that we need to be building communities of skilled dancers, and I think I mean skilled leaders specifically who care about having a good dance, because when the general level of skill is higher and good dancing is valued, skilled dancers get more dances with less emphasis on appearance. The onus is on teachers to teach their students to care about the quality of the dance and should be using their power to remind newer dancers that tango is not just a dating game and should not be a place to reiterate biased gender dynamics. I also think this conversation would really benefit from the inclusion of heavy representation from women of color, because I believe that race is deeply connected to many other unspoken norms about what makes an attractive tango dancer. These issues are all intersecting, and I think it hurts our understanding to not have that cross-section of the tango community present for all of these conversations. So Karen, thank you for your comment. I agree that having representation for women of color is important. However, in this specific case, that just wasn't the case for the panel. And just a side note, it's really hard to get women together, and I put the bat call out on many public forums of who wants to participate, and sometimes I have to go hunting for people. So I wish it was, I support that need, and I really want more inclusion. And I want those women who want to speak about these things to please step forward, because I also feel a little limited in who I can approach, and the amount of time I have between starting these things and getting them is like a week, and I need people to kind of commit to those. So if Karen, if you ever want to help introduce me to people that you think would benefit from these, that would do these tango roundtables, I thank you greatly. So does anybody want to speak to that around this sort of working harder dynamic? It kind of goes against maybe some of the things that people were trying to say. Sorry, who had their hand up? Veronica, go ahead.
It's when you're a woman in tango, especially in a community where there are more women than men following, you become very resistant when people tell you, well, you know, you have to work on your tango, and you go like, Jesus, it's already hard enough. But at the same time, what I would like to see, what I saw help people really, as a change of frame of mind, is to stop thinking of tango as something that you get. You know, you come and there's this thing called tango and that you get. And if you don't get it, it's frustrating because all those people are withholding it from you. And once you get it, you go like, yeah, I got it. I tend to see it as a connection between people at a certain level of compatibility, which can go wrong and which can take you to the stars. So it is much more about who am I going to connect to and why, and asking yourself why this person might not be interested in me, and should I just leave it be, or should I maybe do something? And I think the problem of not getting it will never go away, just as it will never go away in love and marriages, unless we are all getting into arranged relationships and marriages where, you know, each person gets another person. There will always be this rejection dynamic, attractiveness dynamic, etc., etc. This doesn't mean that it has to be Wild West. It doesn't have to mean some kind of deterministic community. But I think it helps to get out of the negative spiral and see the world a little bit as a wider set of mechanisms, and also sometimes reflect on what it means to be in the position of another person. Women, when they see themselves in this very underprivileged position of being one of the many, maybe not the youngest, the most beautiful, and starting to resent this, they often put this resentment in men who have, you know, the choice of the best dance and everything. And in a way, this is very logical and kind of like, well, what else do you do? But at the same time, if you put yourself in a position of being that person who hasn't actually necessarily chosen to be in that position, you might understand that it's not this black and white. I remember the time that I came to a huge festival, and somehow, for some weird glitch in the matrix, there were too few women. And there were even fewer women that were considered good dancing women. And I've never felt such a prey being hunted. And that was frankly unpleasant. I mean, it does something to your ego, obviously, in the first, three tandas. But then you have this row of people who are eyeing you intently and sending you all these messages. And you having to hide in the toilets just to have a break from your heels. Now, when you say this to a woman who feels undesirable, they just get angrier because they go like, yeah, well, it's easy for you. No, it's actually not easier for me. I've been working at this for 20 years. I've been putting effort in this. I've been doing something with this. What I want to say is I'd like some people to, instead of going into a very narrow reasoning tunnel, to try to come out of it and see more of a global picture. And this is where I personally find peace of mind. And I'll give you just one last example. I was in a very crowded Parisian milonga, and I saw a very nice dancing guy whom I've never seen before, who was a visitor, who was dancing the whole night, tanda after tanda. He would never look at me. I tried 3-4 times cabeceo. He wouldn't even come close. And I was at some point like, okay, I give up. I understand. So I started spinning the story in my head. Yeah, he only dances with pretty girls, blah, 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 and then at some point, he cabeceos me like that, and we go dance, and we dance one time when he kind of like breathes out and said, God, now I know why I came this weekend to this city, is to dance with you. I was like, sorry, what? What did you just say? And it turned out he was just too shy. And that really kind of flipped my whole understanding upside down, and that was in my favor that time, but it could just have been not in my favor. What I mean is, we should look at the other side of the story sometimes.
Go ahead, Magda.
Well, this part of Karen's comment about the idea of a woman that should be working harder, and that teachers are responsible for creating people who care about skilled dancers and dancing. I don't think this is like elementary school, in which you go from tango is from 6 years old up until you're 14 years old or whatever. You get to be taught like basic social behavior, how to be polite. So I think that people that come to tango never, the less if they're like, I don't know, 18, or if they're 30, or if they're 50, 60, 70, whatever age they are, they do not come to tango. I don't think it's the task of tango to somehow change them, to make them other people, to adapt them, to make them better people. For example, I think if somebody comes to tango, they should find their way in that community in some way. So if somebody comes looking for, I don't know, attractive women, if somebody comes only for, like, I don't know, to learn the basic steps and to have fun, to travel with another people, if somebody comes to meet people that want to party, which is also one community that inside of the people who travel. So I don't think that should be a problem. So I don't think there should be anybody who would affect, who would, like, in a way, like, really strictly raise dancers to view only skilled dancing. So I really think it's important that we have that kind of plurality, just like in everywhere else in the world. And also that part about women that should be working harder to get the dance. I don't think it's about working harder at all. I don't think, especially in the terms of beauty practices that we were like talking about before. I think that women should be working harder on themselves not to feel like not good enough when they get rejected, what you were girls talking about before. So this is the kind of work that women need to work harder in a way. And the same thing applies to guys, because tango is a complicated game, like Veronica said, of rejection. Also, rejection is a big, big part of tango. So I think that part of working hard lies on everybody here in some way, not really only on women. It's a personal work and personal growth before everything else.
Go ahead, Maya.
Yeah, I agree with both what Magda and Veronica said. And also this thing about rejection and what Magda said before, that many people take tango too seriously, is what I'm trying to say is issues, personal issues, confidence, insecurities, whatever you have in your real life, when you come to tango, it's not going to be better. Usually it's going to be worse, because you're going to be looking for validation from others. You're going to be, your self-worth is going to be based, for most of the people, on how many dances you get, who looks at you, who doesn't look at you, if you dance with a teacher, if you don't, and so on. And this is horrible, because it's gonna fuck you up. And then people get frustrated, and then they blame everybody else for the shit that's happening to them, whereas actually you do have a choice of how you can act on your own problems, right? So if somebody doesn't, let's say somebody doesn't want to dance with me, I cabeceo them once, twice, 3 times, I don't know, I chat with them, like, woo, yeah, but it still doesn't happen. I have several options. I can think, okay, they must hate me. I mean, I suck, I smell, I look like shit, they cannot stand me, and this is why they don't dance with me. Or what's probably more likely, not because of myself, I'm not saying this because of my self-esteem, but because it's more realistic, they just don't feel like dancing. They're tired, or they just want to sit, or they enjoy talking to me. Yeah. So you have a choice how you're going to deal with rejection or with any kind of unpleasant situation. But the problem is that so often we like to turn this on ourselves, and then there is the spiral. Yeah, so you build up this scenario in your head, which is not actually true. I mean, it is possible, but it's not very likely it's true, because perhaps you've just met this person, or they just arrived to the Milonga, and it's just, it's not going to happen for one of the billion reasons which have absolutely nothing to do with you personally. So I think, yes, we should work harder, but on ourselves. Yeah, you should work harder on not perceiving this rejection as the end of the world. You should work harder on not being so affected that a man wants to dance with a beautiful young woman. Yeah, you should work harder on the fact that, if a teacher doesn't dance with you, it's probably because we're tired as fuck, because we were teaching the entire day. I'm not there to entertain you. So there are so many other reasons which honestly have nothing to do with any of us personally, but we keep guessing them and we want to know. And like Vero said, you don't have to know it. It's none of your business. Why do you care so much? I mean, focus on something else. Enjoy the music, go get a drink, go to the toilet, I don't know, refresh yourself or something like that. So, yes.
Christina, you are muted.
I want to highlight a delineation around sort of this self-work and kind of doing our own personal growth journey inside of Tango, and also acknowledging that if you are a minority or is some way oppressed, like if you are Black or in queer or outside of the standard narrative of what is not normal, what is like the desirable, I think there has to be we have to set an equal playing field, because one of the things is that we don't know, none of us know what that is like to feel not just not included, but actively excluded sometimes. And I think we have to acknowledge that it's not always just in someone's head, that they actually are actively excluded in some ways. Given, if you've watched these roundtables before, that there are classic examples of how people have felt unwelcome inside of Tango. That's not just because they're not a good dancer, because they're not smiling, or because they're actively there's just it's not an equal playing field. So I want to draw a delineation between that kind of idea around being oppressed versus like a self-esteem or a question around, I have to do a personal journey because I'm feeling like I'm not a sense of not belonging all the time, or I'm not feeling the sense of connection all the time with other people. I want to draw that delineation because I think it's important to validate those experiences of people that have felt oppressed or actively excluded. So I just wanted to draw that. Does anyone else want to say a couple more things? And then I want to make sure that we wrap it up soon because we're going on almost 2 hours. Go ahead, Anna.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say now, of course, there are two different topics, let's say, but I can actually fuse a little bit the personal growth story with, we can call it an kind of racist position that or situation that I have been in. Because I think they have been very interconnected for me. Like when I was a young child, we moved actually to Greece, and then we came back to Sweden, and we moved to this little town, and I was so different from all these Swedish blonde kids, so basically I was bullied for my, ethnicity, we could say, many years, and I've had a lot of not that happening to me in Tango, but let's say I've had that happening in my life. And actually I have the opposite situation, because coming into Tango with how I look actually was a plus. Yeah, many people think that I have some kind of Argentinian background or whatever. And after some time, I realized that, now I'm now I'm experiencing actually the opposite of how it is to feel like I actually do look or am or whatever something that is appropriate. Yeah. And it took me some time to realize that I was riding this positive wave, seeing that it was just the other side of the coin. Yeah. So I find, it has been a very positive, because actually it has had a let's say healing effect on me as a positive thing. But I also realized that, oh yeah, it's true, the opposite exists. Yeah, maybe I don't see it, or as you say, Christina, maybe it's just right under my nose, but I don't see it. But I realized that it might be there. Yeah, and now of course we like in Sweden, as a very accepting country. It's not. I wouldn't say that it's so common, but I'm sure it's there, and it's an interesting thing to get aware of. And the other topic about many times I wanted to actually bring up Tango as the perfect self-development tool, but also actually how can you say, almost a healing practice when it comes to relational problems. Yeah, because you have all these, and some teachers are taking it in that direction and so on, because of course you have the female male thing going on, you have like the mother and the father thing, you have all these things, the community, so I would say that Tango, of course you can take Tango as, you can be taken by Tango, like in a bad way, all these problems, and you can start to project the shit on everybody else, like she's too beautiful and he's doing this and yada yada and all these kind of things. Or what I have realized after, I'm a little bit slow learner, but after some time, that it's actually just showing me, as everything else in life, what are my issues and what I can work on. And I think that this is something that it's your own journey to get to that point. Of course, we can help each other in mirroring that. And I think it would be fantastic to actually take Tango more into that direction of, self-inquiry, because, it's like everything else in life. If I'm rejected by, my partner, as you're saying, Veronica, or is it a dance partner, it's a fantastic opportunity actually to look at, okay, how is it actually with my self-worth? Maybe there's something for me to work on, and that's what I want to say, like, to know. And I think for many women, and we say followers in Tango, there is maybe this built in a little bit passive position or attitude, that we come to Tango and we're like waiting to be picked, or waiting to be, like asked and so on. And I would say the contrary, like, how can we not be owned by Tango, but own Tango? And this last period has been so, yeah, that's good, Carmen, so interesting through this Corona time, because, of course it was like, shit, what are we going to do? We cannot do our Tango classes, blah, 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 going online. And I've had actually such a fantastic spring of giving technique classes to women. Yeah, that easy. You can do it at home. You can have a wall. You can use a chair. You can use a lamp. Yada yada. And it's been so rewarding to hear what it actually has given them. And there actually I had a positive, because it's also part of my own journey, that, having worked on my Tango, now we come to the like working harder on our dance, having worked, let's say, on the technique and practicing more alone, and like really diving into learning and seeing and understanding, and like this fucking back ocho and like all these things, it's not that it has give, of course, in the end, it makes me a better dancer, let's say. So yes, okay, maybe I will dance more in the milonga, but that's not the reward. You know, the reward of working on your dance is that you make tango your own. Yeah, it's like you start to engage personally with your relationship with tango, not through a leader or, you know, somebody else. And I heard from so many women like, oh my God, it's so nice to have the time just to feel my body and my movement. And, you know, that like taking away a lot of stress from like, oh, Jesus Christ, and I'm going to understand the lead. And, you know, yes, yes, yes. Work on your dance in the way of an inquiry as what do I want with tango? How can I make, you know, find my tango? What is tango for me? How can I express myself? How can I dance? And when you know, the more you get into that, you will have, you're not so, how can you say, it doesn't matter so much actually who you dance with. Oh my God, did I say that? You know, it's like you can go and dance with a beginner and have a fantastic time because you're just like, oh my God, I'm just loving this caminada because now I have time to, you know, really put the heel in the floor. And, you know, it gives you so many possibilities, like taking it in your dance. End of the hallelujah. Sorry.
Thank you for sharing. I enjoy, I think one of the greatest pleasures for me around tango has been the more that I sort of, I enjoy my body so much more. Like the relationship of tango is about that connection, but it's also really that connection of myself, the pleasure that I get from feeling like the sensation of walking. And the more that I've invested in myself, the more value I found in my own dance. And I there's many parts that I resonate with what you said. So does anybody want to, I think we should sort of wrap up. Does anybody have any last closing remarks before we kind of go and have everyone sort of give? Go ahead, Veronica. Yeah.
So just to continue a little bit on what Anna was saying, one thing that I say to my students is indeed what will finally help you overcome the issues that come up, the situations that come up, the problems that come up, is first thing is if you love tango as a dance, and not, as Anna said, through only if I dance with this and this and this person, but do you love it in your own body? This doesn't take away all the other problems we talked about, but it gives you a good thing to focus on when you feel really down. Can you feel tango as being yours, independent of other people? And working on your own technique, I have had exactly the same experience during this lockdown. So many women said to me, I've never tried doing technique alone because I was afraid I would be doing the wrong thing, but it gave me such a connection to myself and to my body. And the second thing is to not consider other people in tango as a resource to use. They are not. So I see two distinct topics. One is how can we make a community accepting of all the diversity? But when it comes to the personal choice of dance partner at every particular moment, the other person is not a resource for you to use. You are not entitled to any dance with anyone. You can politely ask, and you might be refused, and you can give or you may refuse. And I stand with this because if I can't live this in this attitude myself, I can't express my love for tango as a dance by finding a connection with people that are compatible in some way. And some are more compatible and some are a little bit compatible, but I would like to have the choice to accept or refuse.
Yeah, I agree. It's a delicate mix of belonging to the community and our own sovereignty and choice. And I echo that. I don't think, it's really hard. I don't view this as a debate, but like I think sometimes people want us to sort of polarize answers, which is like you're either here or you're here. And I think the great thing about talks is that I think there's a constant nuance with what we're trying to say, and that you can actually kind of be paradoxical in tango, right? It's like this individual pursuit, and that you're also doing it with somebody else. There's so many of those examples that we have inside of tango where it's not one thing or the other. It's this combination of all these elements. So thank you for kind of highlighting that again, Veronica. Does anybody else have a, Carmen? Yeah, one more thing. Yeah, go ahead.
Just one little thing. This which was so controversial. Somebody complaining that women should work and why all the work should rely on women, etc., etc., etc. I can understand where she's coming from, but I think what we are trying to say is not working as suffering, not working as effort and suffering a lot. No, work, just delete the word work. Just go on a discovering of who you are. Just get in contact with yourself. This means working. It's just giving you your place to appear who you actually are and to express who you actually are. This is the work we are talking about. Let your body do the things that it can do with a teacher like the teachers we have here in this panel. Or discover the movements that can come out of your body in the right environment, with the right inspiration. It's not about suffering. It's not about being victims. It's about being builders ourselves, from ourselves and from our community, to build it, just taking responsibility and form it like we want it. That's the work we are talking about, I think, or at least it's the work I'm talking about.
Exactly. Thank you. I want to wrap this up. I want to say thank you to all of you guys so much, Carmen, Veronica, Maida, Maya, and Anna, for joining me today. I'd like for all of you guys to spend a moment just to tell people how they either can connect with you or what you're offering or what you're promoting these days. We'll start with Carmen.
Well, I'm just, what am I offering? I'm offering, when you come to Berlin, I'm offering to be your guest in the tango community, for example, and to introduce you to everyone that I can, for example. And I'm not working with tango. I'm a coach for female leaders, and yeah, I just offer a tip or a word when you need it.
Thank you.
That's it.
Veronica?
Well, I do teach, and right now I teach quite a lot online. So private classes, group classes. You can find everything about me on my website, verotango.com. My writings in the essay sections. You can contact me for classes. Here in Paris, we started slowly with smaller groups classes, but it's also a holiday period. But if ever, people start traveling again, you want to come to Paris and meet me, get advice about milongas, where to go, get a class, introduce you to people. I'm on Facebook, Veronica Tumanova. I have just my single profile. So you're welcome to write me a message.
Thank you so much. Magdalena?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Christina, for inviting me here, and all of you for your contribution to this really amazing talk that I enjoyed a lot. And it makes me feel like really, really nice, regardless of my youth and my unexperienced age, to be able to talk to such women that have accomplished a lot. well, I don't know. I hope to see all of you who are listening to us sometime soon around the globe on some nice events and some kind of not such a dramatic set of times that tango would be our only drama again. So I don't know. I think that's it from
Thank you so much. Maya?
Yes, thank you to all for your valuable input. And thank you to Christina for making it all happen. What we're up to right now, we also decided to do online lessons, and they're going quite well. They're on a platform which is called Patreon. And if you just put our names in Google, it's Maya Marco Patreon is the easiest way to find it. Just remember how to properly spell my name, because if you misspell it, I will know. Other than that, if you ever come to Zagreb, yes, feel free to drop us a line, but Magda is probably a better person to talk about milongas, because even if we are here, we're not so much going dancing. Yes, so if you ever need anybody to tell you tits up, you can always write me, or I offer different services like that. Or if you need me to bitch slap somebody with a voleo, it's all like, for a small fee, we can make it happen.
Oh,
Yeah.
I love it.
Thank you all.
And Anna?
Yeah, for me also, like, thank you so much, Christina, for the invitation. Or actually, maybe it came through Vero. But yeah, it's been it's a big pleasure actually to take part and share and listen. And it's like I'm a lot into circle work, so to speak, with sharings and so on. So I know it's a very fruitable, you say that? Well, it gives fruit and connection. And yeah, what I'm offering, so in real life, let's say, if you ever, of course, come to Sweden and or Scandinavia, because I'm kind of around and about, write me a message. I'm working mainly with 2 different dance partners if I'm not working on my own. And online, there will be, or is created a program for both leaders and followers, mainly followers who want to improve their technique, their repertoire, and also actually expression. Right now it's just on Facebook, but I'm working on my website, and you can either find me on Anna Sol, I think that's quite easy, and or the misstango.net will be up at some point. You can find Miss Tango on Facebook if you don't remember my name. So welcome to contact me if you want some guidance and coaching and going into the journey of expression, finding your tango.
Thank you so much, Anna. And if people want to stay connected with me, you can contact me through Facebook. Or if you're also a woman, I also do some personal coaching work, and I have a Facebook group called Modern Muses. So if you're looking for reconnection to your sensuality and your sense of empowerment, you can join the group and connect with me there as well. So again, thank you so much to the ladies and everyone that watched. And please continue to comment and post, and we can keep talking about this through the comments. So thank you so much. See you guys in a few weeks. Bye.